African traditional circumcision and its origin. Circumcision in Africa is regarded as a sacred and indispensable cultural rite intended to prepare for the responsibilities of adulthood. Male circumcision is one of the most commonly performed procedures in Africa, with a wide variation between the different regions on the practice. This is because circumcision is often done for religious, cultural, or traditional reasons, which includes being part of rituals or rites of passage to adulthood. Brief history of circumcision in Africa. Ancient Egyptians carved scene of circumcision from the inner northern wall of temples based on engraved evidence found on walls and evidence from mummies. Circumcision has been dated to at least as early as 6000 BCE in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egyptian carved scene of circumcision from the inner northern wall of temples based on engraved evidence found on walls and evidence from mummies. Circumcision has been dated to at least as early as 6000 BCE in ancient Egypt. Herodotus' 5th century BCE indicated that the ancient Egyptians at large practiced circumcision. He also indicated that ancient Ethiopians practiced circumcision. Also, in Algeria, engraved rock art with masked bowmen, which feature male circumcision and may be a scene involving ritual. The cultural practice of circumcision may have spread from the Central Sahara toward the south in sub-Saharan Africa and toward the east in the region of the Nile. Cultural background. Certain African cultural groups, such as the Yoruba and the Igbo of Nigeria, customarily circumcise their infant sons. The procedure is also practiced by some cultural groups or individual family lines in Sudan, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and in Southern Africa. For some of these groups, circumcision appears to be purely cultural, done with no particular religious significance or intention to distinguish members of a group. For others, circumcision might be done for purification, or it may be interpreted as a mark of subjugation. Among these groups, even when circumcision is done for reasons of tradition, it is often done in hospitals. The Xhosa community practiced circumcision as a sacrifice. In so doing, young boys will announce to their family members when they are ready for circumcision by singing. The sacrifice is the blood spilled during the initiation procedure. Young boys will be considered an outsiders unless they undergo circumcision. Masculinity and social responsibility. Traditional circumcision is an ancient and highly secretive practice that serves as a rite of passage and a gateway to manhood in Africa. For example, in some South African ethnic groups, circumcision has roots in several belief systems and is performed most of the time on teenage boys. It draws hundreds of young men annually with an array of sacred rituals that affirm masculinity and social responsibility. The process uses an assortment of herbs, tools, and a special diet to reduce pain and speed up the healing process. In the 19th century CE, Shaka, a Zulu king, prohibited male circumcision due to concerns that young circumcised men might be less interested in joining as warriors in the military force. He was amassing and uniting in the region of Southern Africa and might be more interested in seeking opportunities for mating. Religious significance and biblical explanation. Some Arab groups traditionally perform the operation immediately before marriage. Among most other peoples who practice it ritually, circumcision is performed at puberty as a passage rite. In many cultures, circumcision is also regarded as being of profound religious significance. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and thy seed after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. The biblical explanation for these commandments states quite clearly that the circumcision acts as an outward physical sign of the eternal covenant between God and the Jewish people. A test of courage. Amongst the Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania, male circumcision has historically been the graduation element of an educational program which taught tribal beliefs, practices, culture, religion, and history to youth who were on the verge of becoming full-fledged members of society. The circumcision ceremony could be very public and requires a display of courage under the knife. In order to maintain the honor and prestige of the young man and his family, the only form of anesthesia was a bath in the cold morning waters of a river, which intended to numb the senses to a minor degree. The youths being circumcised were required to maintain a stoic expression and not to flinch from the pain. Even more so, there are tribes that do not accept modernized practice. They insist on circumcision in a group ceremony and a test of courage at the banks of a river. This more traditional approach is common amongst the Meru and the Kisi tribes of Kenya. The culture that eats the foreskin after circumcision. Location: Antabahoka. They inhabit a small region along the southeastern coast of Madagascar. In some Antabahoka communities, grandparents have an important role in the family. For instance, a child's first haircut is performed by the grandparents, and during the ceremony, the grandparents will eat the foreskin of their newly circumcised grandchild. Only men, grandfather, father, uncles are allowed to take part in the ceremony. The Rengenza will cut the foreskin with a knife or bamboo. The body that spills on the ground symbolizes the unification of the little boy with the land of his ancestors. Depending on the tribes, it will be the grandfather or the maternal uncle who will swallow the foreskin with a banana. The child is then welcomed by a jubilant crowd who showers him with gifts. At the end of the celebration, the family pays the rain genza with cash, a roaster or a chicken. Here are the countries in Africa that still practice circumcision today: Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia, Western Saharan, West Africa, Benin, Burkina Faso, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea Bissau, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Togo, Central Africa, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Rwanda, South Sudan, Burundi, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Kenya, Madagascar, Mauritius, Somalia, Tanzania, Uganda, Southern Africa, Angola, Botswana, Comoros, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zambia. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.